Well, well, well. It's finally the Paul Green episode. We all knew it was coming because we all know Paul Green. He's an absolute legend, I think. Paul Green he has an amazing marketing podcast. He was one of the first big podcast episodes that I did as a guest, which actually really helped put me on the map. So cheers to you, Paul, for that. Listen, this guy is fanatical. Okay. What I love about him is how delightfully obsessed he is with being singular in his focus. I remember even a couple of years ago, emailing Paul something like, hey, I have this idea to collaborate. And he emailed me back something to the effect of, always open to ideas, but just to set expectations, we have a very clear goal of what the business is doing and where it's going. And I thought it was it was just a great snapshot into the way that he thinks. Not only is he really intentional with his business, he's super intentional with how he helps MSPs. He's got hundreds of MSP clients that he's helped, probably thousands of MSP clients rather that he's helped. And one of the things about Paul is that he's such a charming guy. He's such a great presenter. And I wanted to ask him about that. And I think I'm the first person, he said, who's ever really asked him these kinds of questions. How do you get like that? How can you become a better presenter? How can you become more confident? And so that's where the conversation today went. It's a good one. Let's do it. Paul Green, from across the pond, you have made it. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me back on. It's good to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad you said back on. We recorded an amazing interview. It's a flawless interview.
Best interview ever.
Best interview ever. And I have not released it because we had a technical issue with sound and it doesn't sound good. So that's a real shame.
And we were sat in a room at ScaleCon 2024, and like both of us put our hearts and energy into it. And when you're being videoed by other people as the host and the guest, you're always asking them, "You did record that properly, didn't you? And you switched the mics on, and and they didn't switch the mics on." But hey,
that's right.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We're going to recreate that magic today.
That's right. So that's the goal. It's not going to be. Let's just face it. It's never going to be as good as that one because that one was perfect. But we're going to get as close as we can.
We can do better, Brian. We can do better.
Yeah, you're right. Of course we can. Listen, I think everybody knows who you are. If they're listening to me, they sure as hell know who you are because you're the MSP podcast guy. But just in case, so you're Paul Green of Paul Green's MSP Marketing Podcast. You have a real Tyler Perry thing. You put your name on everything. You're a great brand builder in that way. But if somebody was listening and wasn't super aware, give us the real quick rundown of who you are and what you're doing for MSPs.
Thank you. Yeah, so I'm the self-branded world's go-to MSP marketing expert, MSP marketing expert. Did I say that? I think I did. So it's the end of a very long day here in the UK. I'm tired. I'm British. I'm a middle-aged man. All of those things. I've been working with MSPs for it's 10 years next year that I've been in the channel, which is insane how quickly that's gone. And I work with 700 plus MSPs all around the world. We have a program called the MSP Marketing Edge where we give them marketing materials. We tell them how to use those materials, literally step-by-step instructions, and then we support them using those materials. And that's the sort of the day job. And then around that, as you say, I'm the face of the business. So there's 15 of us in the business. The other guys in my team, they do all the work, and I just do podcasts and webinars and YouTube and actually branding it with my name and putting my face and everything is a strategic decision. I'm not a narcissist. I don't sit there at night and watch back my own videos or anything like that. And I think that's maybe something we should talk about of why you would make a strategic decision like that, because I'd love to see more MSPs make a strategic decision of using themselves in their marketing. But yeah, I have the world's most listened to podcast about MSP marketing. That's my most claim to fame, as it were.
Right. There's a reason I said I listened to a Tyler Perry interview, and Tyler Perry put his name on every ticket of every Medea show. And Tyler Perry is now a billionaire who owns the movie studio where Marvel shoots all their stuff in Atlanta. But I think it's so smart. And the MSP Sales Podcast says presented by Brian Gillette on it. And I'm just fully ripping off Paul Green.
Yep. It should be Brian Gillette's MSP Sales Podcast. That's because then you're owning that thing. And actually, I can reveal, you talk about Tyler Perry, I can reveal for the first time, Brian, that I am now a billionaire and I bought Kaseya yesterday. So I now own the whole of Kaseya and in fact, all of the other vendors. It's me. I am the channel.
Wow.
So
And,
yes,
yeah, you're
just
so
off putting my name on stuff.
right. And you're so passionate. You're still here at 7:00 at night recording a podcast. Right. I love it. Let's talk about that. You just mentioned MSP should be using their name more in their marketing. I think they should be using a lot more than just their name. I think name, image, and likeness is kind of the future of making sure that a brand matters at all, it seems, especially in an increasingly commoditized and kind of dehumanized industry. But I want to ask you this. You come to you're a presenter, you're a performer, if you will, or, you've got this podcast. You come to it by way of your journalism background. I come to this by way of a performing and acting background. MSP owners probably don't have either of those backgrounds. But what was that transition like from you going towards interviewing people, and coming up through that, and then finding your journey into marketing, and now being a face of a brand? What has that sort of been like for you?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You and I have it easy because we've been doing this our whole adult lives. And I remember in that last failed interview, when you were telling me about your acting background, and and as you say, I was a journalist. I was actually a radio presenter for 10 years. I was the guy on the breakfast radio show, on the morning radio show. So to go from sitting on your own in a studio talking to 100,000 people to being, I'm here in my home office on my own talking to you, Brian, right? It's the same thing. It's the same skill set. So you and I have kind of got it easy. Plus, we've been doing it a long time. I think the reason I think MSPs should put their face on stuff and put their name on stuff and do videos and do podcasts and do webinars is for a number of different reasons. Number one, because all the other MSPs aren't doing it, right? So anytime you find something that can be done relatively easy, and let's be honest, audio visual stuff in 2025, 2026 is the easiest thing in the world, right? It's easier than it was 5 years ago. It's dramatically easier than it was 20 years ago. So you can do it, but most MSPs don't do it. I work with a number of MSPs that we give them videos, right, with real life presenters. We have female presenters, and we also give them a version of the videos without the presenter in, so they can insert themselves in. You don't even need a green screen these days, right? That's how easy it is. Even a few years back, you kind of needed a green screen. You kind of needed to use some proper software. Now you just use your phone, put your phone in a tripod, and there are specific apps. You're a little bit fuzzy around the outside, but it's good enough, right? And we've got a small number of our members that put themselves in that video, and they present the script, and they use their phone as the teleprompter. Their phone is the teleprompter and the camera in one go, so that they haven't even had to buy anything. It's all the kit is there in your phone, and the advantage that they get of doing that is it's them talking about technology issues and business issues and growth and all the things that ordinary business owners and managers are interested in. So the first point is differentiation. If you've got anything that most MSPs won't do, and in fact most MSPs would go, oh no, please don't make me do that, don't make me be on screen. If it's ever occurred to you of like, do you know, I could do videos, or maybe I should put photos of me on the website, or maybe I should have photos of the team, or maybe it should be a photo of me and my family at the local landmark, because that shows I'm a family person, I'm a working parent, and look, I'm here in the city, right? Do it. Don't even think it, do it. So there's that. The second reason that you should do stuff like that is because of AI. So AI has made it so easy to produce content, to put content out there, to create videos. And the problem is, and don't get me wrong, you can produce some very good stuff with AI when you use it as an assistant, but just saying, oh, go into ChatGPT, hey, write me a 500-word blog about backups, a 500-word blog article about backups. No human on the planet wants to read that. That's what you'll have heard the phrase, Brian, AI slop, right? That's what we mean by AI slop. And I see not many MSPs, but some MSPs just churning out pages and pages of this AI slop. It's so obviously AI generated. It's kind of boring. It's kind of generic. And what the actual goal of something like that is, you get the AI to interview you, to produce the content, but or better still, you use the AI to refine the content. So, for example, if you take a piece of content that's been written for your blog, you use the AI to help you refine it for your Google business profile, to refine it for LinkedIn, to refine it for Facebook, to refine it maybe for Instagram if you use Instagram in your marketing, to refine it for a printed newsletter, to turn it into a video script. And so the proliferation of AI tools has made it so easy to create content that the amount of content has gone up. The downside of that is it's all generic, right? And so already we know that MSPs all look the same. To ordinary business owners and managers, every MSP looks the same. All the websites look the same. They've got different colors, slightly different words, different pictures of cables and servers, but to the uneducated business owner, they are all the same. So as the amount of AI stuff goes up, being you and being the real you, again, gives you a massive differentiation. And, it's why I've been tempted. I do so much video and so much audio. This is my second webinar today that I've done. I've done a live recording today. I've done 2 podcast interviews today, and I'm exhausted, right? And you can probably tell I'm slightly 10% down on my normal energy levels. But, I've looked at, maybe I could get myself recreated as a video avatar or something like that. And it's kind of good today and not that good. But you know what? I'm never going to do that because I want it to be me. I want it to be me who's a little bit tired today or a little bit emotional or a little bit this, because the key is to be your authentic self. And I talk a lot now with MSPs about use your authentic personality. So if you're an introverted kind of person, if you're a shy person, if you're you really are much more comfortable talking servers than you are talking anything else, use that, right? Don't hide it. Don't baffle them with jargon, but use that, because actually you have other things that you can connect with them. You're into ball games, they're into ball games. You're a parent, they're a parent. You live in Baltimore, they live in Baltimore. These are all the things that make up your authentic personality. And when I'm doing my stuff, I talk about MSP marketing a lot, but I also talk about the MCU, the new Superman film, which is one of the best superhero films ever made, by the way. I talk about my daughter. My daughter's just hit 15. I love being a parent, but my God, I hate teenagers. I talk about the clash of being a business owner and a parent and trying to be both of those things at the same time. And that makes me as relatable as talking about MSP's businesses. So I think it all comes down to differentiation. And you cannot differentiate on your tech stack. You cannot differentiate on your services or really how you do them, because all of that can be copied, but you will never, ever find anyone who can copy you and your authentic personality.
We've got, okay. We've got the rest of the interview is going to be unpacking the gold that you just dumped right there. Let's go. Let me say it this way. Like, regarding authenticity, I'm always fond of saying, like, I don't want my doctor or my lawyer to be a cool person. Like, I don't want to be buddies with my lawyer. I want a lawyer who, like, there's something wrong with them and that's why they became a lawyer. Like my dentist, I want my dentist to be super competitive, incredibly type A, super full of himself, because I don't need my dentist making mistakes. Okay. And that means my dentist personality, I don't want to even see myself in him. I want to see himself. And the dentist I picked sent me a mailer, and it was like, I was top of my class in Georgetown, which is a very good school. I'm the best. And I was like, perfect. You can work on my team. The times I've tried to hire a lawyer because I vibe with them, I'm like, oh, you're a terrible lawyer. I need a lawyer who there's something wrong with you and you're super anal and you're unbelievable at it. I think sometimes MSP owners think that they need to look and act and sound and talk like you in order to be on video. But I don't think that's what nobody wants their IT guy to be Paul Green. They want their IT guy to fix it, to be, you know what I mean? You want them to know, oh, I have no problem with you being even stereotypically IT. In many ways, that's really going to help you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean. And, all I'm being now is me, right? This is a slightly more tired version of me. You know this because we've spent some time together in real life. Not huge amounts of time, but enough for me to see that you're being the real you and I'm being the real me. And I think that's why when I talk about using your personality, I've put that word authentic in, because being the real you, whatever that is the thing that you're best at in the world. There's no other, because that's the you that turns up to sales meetings. That's the you that services clients. That's the you that gets annoyed with your staff. And you're absolutely right. I love that thing about not picking the lawyer that you vibe with, but with you are picking a lawyer and you're picking a CPA and you're picking a dentist with your heart. right? You don't know how to tell if a dentist is any good at what they do. You do know when they insert the drill into your cheek and you cry out in agony, but by that point it's too late. So at the research and the buying stage, you're picking that person based on how you feel about them. You cannot compare dentists on technical skill. You can't compare lawyers on technical skill. You and I don't have the ability to do that. Just as ordinary business owners and managers don't have the ability to compare MSPs and say, I wonder if this person's any good at server settings compared to this person. So in all of these scenarios where we don't know what we don't know, the brain says, can't make that decision, buddy, passes it down to the heart makes an emotional decision. So you're picking, as much as you're saying you're not vibing with a lawyer, you are going on an emotional journey of, can I trust this person? Can I trust this dentist? Wait, do you know what? This dentist went to a top school and told me that they just read dentistry magazines all day. I want that dentist, because your heart is saying, that's safe. I want the dentists are technicians, and I mean technicians there in the Michael Gerber sense, not in the IT technicians. Dentists are technicians, lawyers are technicians. To a certain extent, you and I are technicians in marketing and in sales. And you want the technician who is obsessed, who finishes a long day and then watches YouTube videos about their technical skill because they're obsessed with it. And we get that from that kind of feeling. But there is also the other aspect of that people only buy from people, and people can tell an unauthentic person. I know MSPs that I know fairly well who, whenever I meet them, I get a bit of an ick feeling, right? And that ick feeling is because, and you know what I mean by an ick feeling, right?
Oh, yeah.
That ick feeling is because they're not being themselves. And you can tell that they're showing off, or they're dressing in a way that perhaps isn't naturally them. And there's nothing wrong with dressing up and all of that stuff, but they're just not being themselves. It's like, I dress what makes me comfortable. I speak how it makes me comfortable. I get involved in things that make me comfortable. And I'm old enough now to recognize when I'm entering something I'm uncomfortable, and I'll just come away from it. But that authenticity, that just comes out in spades. So this isn't difficult. This is all we're saying here is you've got to be you, right? You just be you, be natural, be yourself. Don't try and be someone else, but at the same time, be a likable version of yourself.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Right. There's the point that we're making here, and I want to, because we're going to build this towards, I want to ask you about developing more of those, the like charismatic skills, which are skills that you can learn how to be better at presenting. But what we're saying here is that the currency that is the most valuable in business is authenticity. We're not saying, hey, there's a market for people who act like, who have certain personality traits. There's a market for people who know their personality traits and portray them clearly in a likable way, right? So obviously you're not going to go out and like show all of your worst qualities. That's not necessarily the smartest way of being authentic. But what we're getting at here is you do not have to act like Paul or act like Brian or talk or sound like Brian to be very effective at building a brand, using your name, image, and likeness to differentiate yourself. A lot of MSPs I see, they'll lean into, even my MSP was guilty of like, we're IT people, but we're not like the traditional IT people. We're like likable
cool
people.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, it's like Amy Poehler and Mean Girls. Like, I'm a cool mom. Like, what if a company was just like, we're not cool people. You're not going to invite us to parties, but you will be sure that your IT is well handled.
Yeah.
Like that honestly would probably crush as a marketing campaign. Like, we're not trying to be your friend.
100%. The best websites that I see have a really simple headline which says exactly what they do. IT support for small businesses in this city, right? Or for companies with 10 to 20 staff in this city. And it's really clear that instantly qualifies or dequalifies the person visiting the website. That's the first element. The second element they have is there's people. There's people and authentic things. Hi, I'm Chris. I'm the owner of so-and-so. I started this back in 2006. And now we're a team of 10. Even now, I love jumping out of bed in the morning because technology has different challenges every single day. Here's a photo of me and my family. This is my lovely wife. These are my 3 kids. This is the ball game we go to. This is the community stuff we do. Here's my team. Here's all of my team introducing themselves. Here's my dog. Here's my holiday. Here's my vacation video from last year. And those 2 things, that's the best ever website ever for an MSP. And notice there that I didn't. And sure, there's other elements that need to go in, like pricing and social proof and all of that kind of stuff. But from an authentic personality point of view, that's the most real website there ever is. If you think of, and I always pick a website because the website is a reflection of the business's marketing, even though it's not the be all and end all of marketing these days. if you think about a website, it's a summary of what you want to say. You have full control over it. And if you go back to the 1960s, when even I wasn't born, and I'm very old as compared to you, Brian, as you know, but even I wasn't. I'm a 70s child. But if you go back to the 1960s and you think about the dentist, the lawyer, right, the CPA, all of those people still existed. How did they sell back then? Because they didn't have really kind of networking meetings and stuff like that. They didn't have they didn't have websites and digital marketing, all that stuff. I'll tell you how they sold. They would meet other business owners in bars or restaurants or country clubs and stuff like that. So they gathered. Today we gather online, but they gathered in real life. And you hired the lawyer that you like to have a beer with. That was how you hired. You hired the dentist that your dad hired, or that the guy across the street hires. And you're like, who's your dentist? Oh, I use this guy. And then you bump into him and you say, oh, that guy uses my dentist. So they, in the 60s and 70s, the professions, because IT is a profession, the professions sold themselves by being themselves, by integrating themselves into the community, and by being really good at what they do. So good that people are talking about them. And it's exactly the same. They were authentic, essentially. They were authentic people. And we lost something. I don't know if it was the 80s, if it was the 90s, when it was all commercialism, or whether it was the internet age. But somewhere along the line, we've lost authenticity. And when websites first became a proper thing, like late 90s, early noughties, when you've got to have a website, it's like we lost something somewhere, and people were trying to be corporate. And it's like, you'll have an MSP that's got 5 staff, but let's have a big corporate. Let's have a big picture of a skyscraper and a picture of our car and a picture of this. But no one ever bought you. It's different when it's a massive company buying another massive company's services. That's different, right? If you've got a super MSP with 500 staff, obviously they sell a market in a completely different way, because they're selling to different people. They're selling to C-level executives, where actually the decision is being made to protect someone's job rather than because they have a good service. C-level executives always buy to protect their own career. That's a completely different way of marketing. It's not something I ever get involved in because it bores me. But you and me and the people we work with, we sell to business owners, other business owners and managers, and they buy because they want it to work, and they just want the outcomes. They want increased productivity. They want things to just work. They want the staff to stop complaining. They want the technology to help them grow, not stand in the way of growth. That's all they want. And they want authentic people to deliver that. And the beautiful thing is as well, if you can pull this off and be yourself and be authentic, the clients never leave, right? Because this is how you turn a client into a bonded client. People think that winning a client is everything. It's not at all. Winning the client is just another step in the journey to where they become a bonded client. A bonded client is someone who genuinely would have a breakdown at the thought of leaving your MSP, right? That they're not going anywhere until they've sold the business or they've gone bust. And we all think we want to get clients to that point. And a lot of MSPs think their clients are at that point, but they're not. Their clients are with them out of inertia loyalty, and it feels too difficult to go somewhere else. But that real bonded stuff, that comes from relationships. It comes from emotions. It doesn't come from service. If the service is good enough and you're doing what you should be doing, all of the rest of the retention comes from emotions and relationships.
Hey guys, I hope you're enjoying this episode with Paul Green. I just want to take a quick second and interrupt that conversation to tell you about an exciting new thing that literally just happened. At the time of this recording, as of 3 days ago, I released my first book. It is called How to Sell a Shitload of Managed Services Without Selling Your Soul. I've been working on this material for about 5 years, the entire time that I have been in business. And this is the first time that I have actually released all of this information for free, or for almost for free, for $19.95 in one place. I've got a foreword from the legendary Nigel Moore, who you may have heard on this podcast. Of course, you may know from the Tech Tribe. It's just been out a couple of days, and we are actually #1 on the new release list on Amazon in the sales category, #2 on the new release list in the marketing category, and we're sitting at 29 on the best sellers list on Amazon, y'all, in the sales and selling category. So I'm really excited, of course, about all of that. And I super want to share this with you. Not only is it all the material that I spent 5 years and like 50 workshops running through and amassing all of this information, but there's also a bunch of free giveaways that you can download, 100% free download via QR code in this book, with worksheets that you can use to actually implement all the material, as well as 10 pages at the back of the book full of tables and examples of all the stuff from data and KPI tracking to helping you improve your copywriting, making it more visual, more visceral, all the way into the offer building stuff, ICP development stuff. Everything that you need to implement what's in this book, I have done everything I can to help you. So if you're interested in that, I'm going to put the Amazon link for this book in the show notes of this episode. If you have any more questions about it, I'm going to send you to a webpage as well where you can learn more about the book. And for now, I'm going to let us get back to the episode. First of all, I love everything that you just said.
Thank you.
We've listened to Paul. You should listen to Paul's podcast all the time. And you should listen to what he just said 2 or 3 times in a row, especially if you're one of these people who is on the precipice. I feel like that's what we have. Is we have a lot of MSP owners who are finally slowly, like, they're getting pulled into the tractor beam of the realization that they have to do more than they're doing now if they want to get better results than they're getting today. And oftentimes what I'm seeing is MSPs coming to me saying, like, how do I just make AI do it? Can I just use Nate and Zapier, and now AI is everything? And if I just ratchet up the slop, right? If I do a bunch of shitty things faster and 10 times more of it, then I'll just get better results. Yeah. But this is actually a pretty amazing opportunity that AI is presenting. But I don't think it's the opportunity that's being advertised.
No, using AI in that way is like 10 years ago, hiring 200 Venezuelans to sit and write blog content for you and then put them on, what did they used to have? They used to have blog farms, didn't they? Or link farms. That was it, link farms, which Google shut down eventually. It's the equivalent. The AI is an assistant to help you do stuff. It's not in itself just as you wouldn't just hire a virtual assistant in the Philippines or wherever and say, write me blogs. Because it's like, well, write your blogs about what?
Right.
What are we trying to do here? And SEO for MSPs is so hard anyway. It's one of the hardest things to do.
Right.
But yeah, it's the more. What's cool though, Brian, is the more people do that, the easier it's going to be for the authentic personalities to stand out.
That's exactly right. I think that's the opportunity I was alluding to. Is the opportunity is everyone is always trying to do less work and make more money. And if you are just willing to do a reasonable amount of work, my old manager used to say, I didn't get here because I'm great. I got here because most people are just that bad. And I actually really like that perspective. It takes a lot of pressure off of you. Just do the reasonable thing. Zoom out, like what you're saying. Zoom out and think about how regular relationships are built. People buy from people, all of that. Nobody can tell our tech stack apart, and they don't care about your tech stack. So really, they want to buy from an IT person, an IT brand that they know, like, and trust. So the fact that everybody is hiding behind layers and layers of artificial intelligence. Think about it, right? Now you've got artificial branding, artificial relationship, artificial value. And you're just a dude walking around with his dog like, hey, everybody out here at the park today. It's kind of rainy, but I got to get out there. Like the fact that you said you were tired in this podcast, I care. I feel like you're a human again. I care more about you because you didn't put on a character. You're not over polishing. So that's the opportunity, right? Is like, there's tons of MSPs. People keep starting new MSPs every day, and they're all trying to hide behind all of the easiest way out of it. And if you can get over this hump, and the first thing that we needed to, if you can get over this hump, then you can make an impact. You can get leads. You can close those leads to clients. You can turn those clients to bonded clients. But I want to go a level deeper beyond authenticity, and I want to go towards the topic of confidence. You talked about ScaleCon, which is where we got together in person in Las Vegas. I think you were probably the highest rated presentation.
Thank you.
And I was in a close second. Just so everybody knows, I was a close second. No,
we were a tie. I'm sure we were a tie.
Well, sure. Yeah, different strokes for different folks, Paul. What are you going to say? Who's to really say? No, you're a great presenter, and as you were a radio presenter for a long time, you're a journalist. You've made however many hundreds and hundreds of podcast episodes, but I don't think you came out of the womb with a microphone in your hand. And sure, you've had probably an easier path towards it just because of your temperament and your personality, your interests, than maybe a technologist might. But in our greatest interview of all time, I asked you a little bit about this, and you probably don't remember what you said, but I want to ask you,
exactly what I said.
Okay, so somebody's listening to this and they go, okay, be my authentic self. That's 10 times scarier, because what my plan was to play a character to protect myself from the fear of rejection, or to protect myself from how scary it is. And I'm not confident, and therefore I'm not like that. What can somebody do to develop that confidence to help them achieve these things?
It's really interesting you talk about characters. So the thing I admitted to you at ScaleCon was that I was nervous before my talk. And you wouldn't know, if you watch the video back now, you wouldn't know I was nervous. And actually in the moment, once I was on the stage, the nerves had gone because I knew what I was doing. But in that 5 minutes before, I felt like vomiting. And I always do. And I've been always exactly the same. Not for doing something like this, because I'm in my own environment. I'm in my house right now, right? I'm in control. This is my environment. The fact I'm just talking to you, that's cool. And you're a friend anyway, so you're not going to ask me anything too difficult or put me in a bad spot. But on that stage, anything can happen. And the confidence partly comes from just having done it 1,000 times, which let's be honest, it's like when you build your first server, right? He says someone who's never built a server. First time you're a bit and 1,000th time you can do it with your eyes closed. But partly is, and you talk about characters, is the Paul that was on stage was perhaps a slightly exaggerated version of the real Paul, and that nervous energy that's on stage. Because when I'm on stage, I'm a bit more up than I am now, and that's because I'm much more comfortable, and I want to own that audience, right? That every single person in that audience. In fact, if I see someone on their phone, I take that as a personal affront, and I will actually go and stand next to that person to get their attention, or just go silent to look at them, and because I have a personal mission that every single person in this crowd is going to go to the coffee break, and they're going to feel, they might not remember what I said, but they're going to feel, oh my goodness, I need to do something about my marketing, or that was amazing, I need to do this, I'm so inspired to do this. And so perhaps the person that's on stage is a bit of an exaggerated character of Paul, but he's only an exaggerated character. He's not a different Paul. It's not a guy that doesn't exist. It's exactly the same guy. So I think the greatest thing you can do for confidence, there's two things I think you can do. Number one is start small, right? So I can't remember how many people are at ScaleCon. It was about 300, I think. So standing up on a stage in front of 300 people is a dumb way to start, right? And actually, you and I saw lots of people make their speaking debuts in front of 300 people, and sometimes it wasn't pretty, was it? And they did great. Yeah. Everyone did absolutely great, but you could tell the people who'd done stuff before and hadn't done stuff before, and it was just down to polish and experience and knowing what to do and all that stuff. So I would say start small. The greatest way for any MSP to start speaking, presenting, is either just do videos, grab your phone, as you say, take the dog for a walk, do a video. There's an MSP in the UK called Christian Fleming, who's in Brighton, the UK, and he, for about 3-4 years, did a YouTube video every week. His own YouTube, he scripted his own stuff, had a studio built and everything. I still have his first ever video, which Christian is going to want to. I could blackmail Christian because he sent me his first ever video like 8 years ago, and he's like, "What do you think of this?" And it's possibly the worst video I've ever seen in my life. Right? It was really bad. So I very gently sent him back some nice feedback. Didn't tell him that. Said, "Hey, this is really good. Perhaps you could try X, Y, Z." And guess what? 40 videos later, his videos were getting pretty good. 100 videos later, he hit a stride. And I don't know if he's still doing the videos now, but for a long time, he was the video guy, and people were recognizing him locally as the video guy. But he started with the world's worst video, the worst video ever. But then he was persistent, and he kept going with it. So that's an easy thing to do. And actually, I think some of his earlier videos, he never even put out. He recorded the video, got into the habit of doing it weekly, but never actually put them out. The other thing you can do, which is even easier, is go and join networking groups. Every city has networking groups. You've got like BNI, there are all sorts of other formats. And often at these networking groups, you have to stand up and you have to talk about yourself for 60 seconds, which means developing an elevator pitch. It means being ready to talk. And also you have to just go and talk to people anyway. And you can kind of use that as a bit of a performance. I'm going to go and talk to these two people now, and I'm going to go and talk to them about something that's so fascinating for 30 seconds that they're going to be listening to me. And I'm not going to talk about my business. I'm not going to talk about theirs business. I'm just going to talk about technology or business growth or something like that for 30 seconds. So you can go and practice speaking 100 times at lots of different networking meetings before you ever get up on a stage. And then one final idea on this, and everyone should do this. If you want to talk, you want to do videos, you want to do lunch and learns, whatever, but your confidence levels are so low, go join Toastmasters. Now, I've never done Toastmasters, but I have so many professional speaking friends, people who speak for a living. They make 6-figure salaries going around the world speaking at events. Most of them started at Toastmasters. And Toastmasters, I hope it's still going, because as I say, I've never looked at it, but I believe it is. They have chapters in most cities, and you join it. The whole point of the organization is to teach you how to do public speaking and to give you confidence to do it. And it's a safe environment, because everyone is there to learn, which is great.
Yeah, Toastmasters, I think, is still a thing. God, I hope it is too. I did speech and debate in school, and I now tell every single kid who asks me what they should do, I'm like, every single kid in high school should do speech and debate, regardless of what you want to do for a living or anything. Like, it was the best, some of the best actual life training. The skills that I used the most in my life that I captured in high school were from the speech and debate class, not anything else that I did. But practice what I tell my members, the MSPs I work with, is like, the first step is practice talking into the mirror. Memorize 30 seconds and look at your big dumb face, and you're going to have all these horrible thoughts about how terrible of a human you are, and just let those wash through you. Like, okay, whatever. The first time you do it, it's going to be uncomfortable. Then start filming it. You don't have to post the videos. You can delete them immediately. But you need to practice doing that. And you really, really should watch them back. Every human being needs to get over that, like, hating the sound of their own voice thing. You just have to listen to your voice for a long time and over and over again. And eventually you just kind of accept it. You can also make changes, by the way. You can change the way that your voice sounds. It's an instrument that you can get better at. You can change your mannerisms and how you look on camera. These are all skills that you can develop. It's not like some people are born with it, some people aren't. I just refuse to believe that. You can do everything that you're saying. And I think the thing that helped me a lot going into as those opportunities started getting bigger and bigger, was simply preparing for them. Just put in the reps. Don't just write the script and then go up there and wing it. But if you have this great opportunity, you should put in the work that it merits, and actually give it an honest shot.
Yeah.
Those are some of my instincts, right? With if you're going to, you can develop confidence, you can develop charisma, you can become a more likable person. It's actually pretty formulaic. If you ever want to know who's the most likable person in a party, it's the person who talks about themselves the least and asks other people the most questions.
I heard a great phrase on this once, which is to be interesting, you have to be interested. I think it was a guy called Peter Thompson, who's a coach here in the UK, said that. To be interesting, you have to be interested. You're exactly right. If you go to a party and you talk to other people about themselves all the time and don't really talk about yourself, they'll go away thinking you're the most fascinating person they've ever met, even though they know nothing about you, and completely the opposite. Yeah.
Right. That's the difference between like a good consultant and just like a blowhard. Is a good consultant is they're asking great questions, and then they'll give you like 2 sentences of advice, and you leave with, they have all this mystique and they have all this authority. And it seems like the person who says the least oftentimes speaks the loudest. And that's absolutely true. Even presenting obviously is different, because presenting isn't back and forth, right? It's one directional, one to many, but a lot of those same principles can still apply. Be really intentional with what you say, be provoking thoughts with what you say, and just make it all kind of worthwhile. So if somebody can, let's keep going. Let's say somebody wants to develop this confidence. They start taking this advice. They start filming themselves. They start putting the videos up. Nobody's caring about the videos, whatever. It doesn't matter. They're developing these skills. Do you have any tactical applications that we should talk about? Because I think of you as kind of the marketing tactics guy. You're a lot of the like, do this thing right now, or do these 3 things, or add these 4 words to your website. You also have these great insights on what people can actually do. So what's like as the confidence grows, or as they continue down this journey, what are some of the actual things they can do with these skills to get results?
Yeah, that's a great question. And the answer actually is different for every single person. So like for me, podcasting is my thing, right? But it makes sense, because podcasting is just like radio. Sure, it's video these days, but actually most of our consumption is audio. And look, I've got the microphone, right? I know what I want to say, and I understand hooks and all of that kind of stuff. But it might be that for an MSP that does that, they're like, actually, I want to be on YouTube. I want to be a YouTuber. That's cool. Do that. Or it's yeah, I want to do a podcast. Podcasts are harder than, or it's just as much work as YouTube, by the way. And by YouTube, I mean creating stuff specially for YouTube. And there is a distinct YouTube style, and you're battling 10,000 other videos a day for attention, but it can still be done. Or you might be someone who actually loves doing webinars and like presenting webinars. Or you might be someone who just prefers being in a room and standing up in front of a room and doing a lunch and learn, doing a 20 minutes. Or you might prefer doing a live training over Zoom. So I think the answer to that actually is listening to what you say inside. We all of us have two brains. We have our actual brain, and then we have our limbic system brain. Our limbic system is our emotional brain. And as modern day humans, we have learned to override our feelings because we're so clever. And look what our brains have done. Look what we've created around us. But actually, most of the answers, most of the time, come from what does your gut say? What does your gut feel say? It's like when you're sitting trying to decide, is it A or is it B? What does your gut say? Because your gut is your second brain, right? It's however that works. And I don't understand the biology of it, but I know to trust my gut, right? If I'm thinking about doing something and I sleep on it, which is always an important element, because when you sleep on it, your brain does some processing overnight, your gut does some processing, and you wake up in the morning and you're like, it's A, just go with A. And you know what? 9 times out of 10, you'll probably be right. Now and again, you'll be wrong, but that's okay because none of us are perfect, right? We get most things right and some things wrong, and that's okay. So I think as you're doing this as an MSP, if you're doing videos and every time you do a video, you think, I hate this, don't do videos, right? Do audio stuff instead. Audio only stuff is great. Or if you love, but you find yourself, I just want to be in a room with people. So then engineer your entire marketing to get people in a room. Because here's the thing, if you love standing up in a lunch and learn in front of 4 business owners and teaching them the utter terror and hell of cybersecurity, which is always an utter terror and hell for ordinary people. They have no idea, do they really? And if that's your thing, and then that happens to turn 2 of those people into sales meetings, then do that every month for the next 10 years, right? Don't overthink it. And this is in terms of building confidence, I think people overthink it. Just before the interview, you and I were talking about people we admire. And one of those people is a guy called Alex Hormozy, who is he's not in the MSP space, he's in the everything space. And he's written some great books, and they're not that applicable to MSPs, but he's just an inspirational character and he's worth following on YouTube. And I watched one of his videos the other day, and he said the thing that's been, his businesses do $250 million a year, which he's acquired and built a whole bunch of businesses. And he says the thing that makes him the most successful at like 36 or whatever he is he picks a path and he sticks with that path in the long term. And he says the thing that people do, that they hobble themselves, is because they're aware that there are 50 paths they could take, they start on path 1. And then a month later, they think, actually, I'm going to try path 2. So they switch. And then they think, I'm going to try path 3. And they work from path to path to path to path. I see this with MSPs all the time. Brian, you see this with MSPs all the time. And actually, Alex Hormozy's advice of pick a path, commit to it, keep going down that path is great. So and when we say pick a path, we mean pick something, try something. If it starts to work and you feel comfortable with it, keep doing it. Because a lot of the marketing stuff that we talk about doesn't pay off in the short term. You don't switch on to marketing on Monday and you win a new client on Tuesday. That's not how managed services works. It can take up to 2 years to from the point you start seriously doing marketing and sales properly to the point you actually have a proper system that's delivering new clients on a regular basis. But your reward for that is the retention. So it's like a double-edged sword. It takes ages to win a client, but you do keep them for 10 years. And if you bond them, like we were talking about earlier, they'll stay well past the point that you sell the business. But pick a path, stick with that path.
I have so many, probably 30% of my leads, when I say, hey, how'd you hear about me? About inbound leads, they go, yeah, I've been following you for about a year, which means, and now I was going to make that content either way, but imagine if 10 months in, I'd been like, there's no ROI on this, which is ROI is a magical word, magical like blanket excuse that people say, they want to say I feel like oftentimes people come to me and say, what's going to be my ROI on your program? I'm like, I have no control over that for you.
Yeah.
My question to you is, are you going to do a goddamn thing I tell you to do? Or are you just going to pick and choose the stuff that requires no effort, no change, no growth, and then you whine when nothing's different, even though you're putting in the same types of inputs, getting the same outputs, and you're expecting different outputs? That's Einstein's definition of insanity. But I want to go back, and not quite a counterpoint, but I want to throw another idea at you about this idea of like, you said the application of developing this sort of authenticity and basically presenting yourself as a brand. There's different applications for everybody based off what their gut says. I think that's a great answer. Is it also potentially true? Because like, for example, you and I, we sell to people all over the world. And so podcast is great because the podcasts are not regionally specific. But if you're an MSP who's, hey, I only want to work with accountants in South London, then is it possible that you just need to go where accountants in South London are, not say, I'm going to make a YouTube channel for accountants in South London when you're trying to speak, you know what I mean? Is it possible that the medium that you're actually meeting them on, back to your marketing triangle, which I referenced the marketing triangle episode that you did a year or two ago, I reference that like once a month. Yeah. But is that a piece of it as well? Like go to where they need to be and become the person that you need to be, become the person that your prospect needs you to be able to understand and then ultimately purchase your service from you.
Yes. That's a really good point. And also, you nearly said South London like a South Londoner, which is South London, like that. You were so close to that, Brian.
Close, okay.
I mean, that's such a specific example. Accountants, CPAs in South London, do they listen to podcasts? And actually, no, they don't. Podcast consumption in the UK is so low compared to the US. So people do listen to podcasts, but not in the way that they do in the people do in the US. But here's the thing. When you start talking about a very specific market, right? And let's not use terms like ICP or ideal client profile or buyer persona, which are all marketing jargon and marketing buzzwords for who do we want to work with? I say the buzzwords and jargon, they're actually very valuable, but without getting that confused, if you're very clear, who do I want to work with? CPAs in South London with at least 10 staff, right? That's who I want to work with. Great. Do a podcast or do a podcast, or you could do an audio recording. It doesn't have to be a podcast, right? It's still the same thing. Imagine if you did 10 audio files or 10 videos or 10 webinars or whatever, and it was how South London accountants can leverage insert accountancy software package here to grow their business, right? And by accountancy software, I mean they use like practice management software or something like that. So software they use to run their business, kind of like the accountancy equivalent of a PSA, say. Yeah. Would an accountant in South London, if they were aware of that, consume that audio? Yes, of course they would, because it feels relevant to them. And so when you start getting down to knowing exactly who you want to market to, who your ideal client is, and you can actually, you can make your content be more relevant to them, so they'll be more, they will desire consuming it more. So I've just recorded episode 305 of my podcast. So every Tuesday since the 5th of November 2019, we've put a podcast out, right? We work 3 months ahead. So genuinely, if I'm in a coma for a month, the podcast continues, right? I've got to be in a coma for at least 2 months for there to be a problem. And even then, my team has an instruction to recycle old episodes to keep that going, because that podcast is the most important thing we do. Our ROI on that podcast is immeasurable, but almost every single person who joins the MSP Marketing Edge, almost every single one says, I either heard about you or I discovered you or I've listened to or I've been influenced by the podcast. And they may mean the videos on YouTube, because we put it on YouTube and on all podcast platforms, or they may mean the audio. And they might have listened to 100 episodes, they might have listened to one. The point is, my ROI is, if I stopped it, and I've got a 5-year, nearly a 6-year streak of momentum, if I stopped it, would I ever get started with it again? And the answer is no, because you and I know it's a treadmill, right? And my enjoyment from it is different these days to the first year, when it was fun and new and exciting. Now it's a job that I have to do, but I still do it to the highest level of professionality and quality. And I made that podcast as relevant as possible to my ideal MSP, which is an owner or a manager of an MSP with up to 20-25 staff based in an English-speaking country, because that's my marketplace for the MSP Marketing Edge. So everything I do, like I've interviewed you, I think twice for my podcast. You're one of only a handful of people who've been on there twice. And that's because you talk to exactly the same people that I talk to, and what you say is gold dust and makes sense, right? And it's valuable. And I'll let you into a little secret. I do 60 to 70 interviews a year to get 45 usable interviews. So I will dump a whole bunch of interviews if I listen back to that and I think this isn't relevant to my target audience. That's one of the parts of the treadmill is doing interviews I know I'm never going to use, which is such a pain. And I hope that this isn't one of your interviews that you're never going to use, Brian. Right. That was a joke. But yeah, so the more relevant it is to your target audience, the format that they prefer almost doesn't matter. What I was saying earlier about if you like lunch and learns, do lunch and learns. You can get CPAs into a lunch and learn if they can see what's in it for them. You can get lawyers into a lunch and learn. Go to the courthouse, right? Go to the courthouse and do a lunch and learn in the courthouse because they all have lunch at the same time. Give them free lunch. Everyone likes a free lunch. So there's always a way of doing it. But I would bring it back to it's got to be something you love doing. If you hated doing interviews or if I hated doing the podcast, we just wouldn't do this. We'd find a reason to stop doing it.
Sure. Yeah. I think you're absolutely right on. To me, the goal of this conversation has been there's so many mediums that MSPs will disqualify themselves from because they decide that marketing or presenting is a temperament with which they were not blessed. And I think what we're saying here is, if you want that to be true, it will be, and you'll just never capitalize. You will leave the market to all the people who are willing to go and do the work. But you weren't born knowing how to build a server. I wasn't born knowing how to run an interview. Frankly, I still don't know how to run an interview. But
great.
But you can put those skills together. You can develop those things. I think you've given some really helpful practical stuff. And then, by the way, do this and then go back to all of Paul's stuff on running on-demand webinars or running lunch and learns or networking groups and put yourself in those shoes, actually put yourself in the shoes of the person who's going to get that done. And all of a sudden, I think there's some real opportunity for the sliver of the audience who's going to take action on this and the sliver of that audience who's going to not phone it in with AI is going to have exponential results.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts, Paul? And I've kept you for so long. I know you need to run, but any other thoughts?
No worries. My final thought is just remember, if most MSPs aren't doing this, that's your opportunity. If your competitors are churning out rubbish with AI or just not doing this stuff, and in most markets, most MSPs don't do this. In the same way that most MSPs have the same bland website, the same bland marketing, your ability to win in a marketplace is so high. I've never yet seen any marketplace where there's not an opportunity for one MSP or even two or three to just do stuff differently, but consistently and completely wipe the floor with the competition. And by the time they see you coming, it's too late because you've got that kind of momentum.
Yeah, I love it. Paul, if people want to get a hold of you or maybe if they haven't found your podcast or whatever, what's somewhere they can look you up?
Yeah, sure. So the podcast is Paul Green's MSP Marketing Podcast on every single podcast platform and YouTube, or just go to my website, mspmarketingedge.com, and you can access all of my free resources on there, including a free MSP Marketing Magazine, which we'll send to you. It's a physical printed one. And no, it's not one of those things, where you enter your details and it's like, wait, we're going to sell you a subscription. It's nothing like that. It's literally, I'll pay the postage and the print. I want to get it into your hands because maybe we'll go on and do some work in the future. Maybe we won't. It doesn't matter. But it's all at mspmarketingedge.com.
I love it. You're a legend. Thanks, Paul.